Okay guys, hi again, Brandon Palace here, comic book artist, illustrator, here to finish up and do the coloring on this illustration we've been working on the last couple of times. This is Velira Splinth, a D&D rogue type character that I played a little bit and that I might be putting in a comic book or something like that. So let's just go ahead and get into it. I mentioned last time that I would probably be cleaning up the inks a little bit before I moved on to the coloring. If I saw anything I didn't like, which usually happens, you come back a day or two later, a few days later with fresh eyes, and you can kind of see the thing from a new perspective. So I've gone through here and made a few small adjustments, but nothing too major. So we are going to jump right into the coloring process. I cropped it down and I merged down all the layers and everything, but I haven't done the flatting, which is a pretty almost mechanical step. It's the first step in coloring, where you just get all of the areas separated into flat colors. Not even necessarily the colors you're gonna use in the end, but just to get it all separate. So it's maybe not necessarily the most interesting process, but we're gonna go ahead and do it. So I'm gonna start by creating a color layer. In fact, I have to change the basic expression color of my image to color at this point from grayscale. And I'm going to start by just picking a green color, like for the grass, and I'm going to fill the whole thing. Now I'm going to jump into Quick Mask and start doing some basic selections. I use the magic wand tool for a lot of this. Let's see, I got to turn on my area scaling. What this is going to do is it's going to make the selections expand a little bit beyond the edge of the line, just to have a little bit of leeway. Let's see here. I got a lot of with this grass stuff. There's a lot of gaps, so I'm gonna have to deal with those manually. But fortunately, the tool here in Clip Studio Paint is pretty good with that. There's some features here like closing the gap and stuff that you can use. You can adjust them to your liking to make sure it's getting you as close as possible to what you want. Obviously, you can see me going in here and painting in some of this stuff. Quick Mask is super useful. It allows you to use painting tools to make selections. So everything I fill with, I'm painting in black, but in the Quick Mask it shows in this gray red overlay. So now I'm gonna hit my hotkey and come out of Quick Mask. You can see this is all selected. I'm going to go ahead and I have some hotkeys set up for, I use my F1, F2, F3, F4, and so on keys for colors. So if I hit F3 a few times, it adds some yellow there. So now we got a separate area, two separate colors here. Now most of this, let's see. I'll go ahead and make this kind of a brown, because I know that that's something like what I'm going to end up using. I'm not going to worry too much about the exact color right now. And now I'm going to go and I'm going to pick out the character around this on this porch here. I'm going to start by filling all around her. It's kind of easier to do this by picking around the character instead of trying to pick out the character herself, because she's got so much more line detail in here. it's going to be a lot more clicking. Whereas what I can do here is I can just select all the areas that that touch her. There I'm just making like a quick selection, filling, so I don't have to deal with all of those little individual areas there. When you're flatting, it's not the most creative process in that you're not really making creative artistic decisions. You're just doing a kind of a technical mechanical step, but you can often be a little creative in the ways in which you get the most bang for your buck, so to speak. The most results for your effort. Okay, so I started going in here and doing. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna come back to this color layer, and I'm gonna do the. Oh, you know what? I gotta change my my tool. Make sure I'm on the right. Let's see, change tool temporarily. Tool operation, remove from selection. Okay, so here I have, whoops, go back to quick mask. Remove everything that touches the grass there. Actually, you know what? I don't really need to do all that. Right now I've got the character isolated, more or less. I'm going to go back here and add the grass to the selection. Whoops. Come back in quick mask here. And then I'm going to just make a big sweeping selection here. I'll leave that window out because I want that to be separate ultimately anyway. Reverse that selection. Now I got both of them. I'll use my hotkeys to add some color there. And now I got that separate too. You can see I got all this stuff included here, like behind these lines, but since it's behind the lines, it's not going to show. It doesn't really matter. So I'm not going to worry about it. Okay. Let's see. For the window here, I'm going to do the same process. That'll do. Let's separate that out so it's a different color from Velira herself. Put some color for these nails here. Over here we got this this bush. I'll just do a simple polygon lasso there. Okay. Now we got this this stone foundation. So I'm just going to select that, kind of pick away around it, and that's enough. Got everything that directly connects to it that's going to show. Got rid of that, so I can just delete outside of that. And then that's a little too blue. It doesn't matter. We'll figure all of this stuff out in the actual coloring. Okay, now I'm going to pick Velira here. This is going to be the like lion's share of the flatting. As you can see, all this stuff, this went quick because these are big, wide open areas. They do have a lot of ink detail, but they're big areas of all the same color. So here I'm going to some of this I'm just going to use the lasso. Now I've made a hotkey that I'm going to use here. I press F8, and what it did is it took the area that I had selected. I'm going to run. I did some undos here. I'm going to run it back so you can see this area that I had selected. It deletes that area from the selection. It comes out of Quick Mask, and it darkens the rest of the selection, thus creating a separate color section so that the wand will treat it as a separate color. So I like to use this to get the basic colors. Sometimes when doing it with the wand would be too much of a hassle. Let's see. I will go do this bottle next. Boom, let's see. Pants. Alright. Let's do the sleeve here. Let's do I missed this bit here, but that's fine. I'll deal with that later. Let's see. I'll do this part of the cloak that's real easy to isolate. I'll deal with the rest of it later. Let's see. Now I'm going to start using the lasso. That's a section of the what should have been part of the wood there. I'll remove that. Do this lasso on the cloak here for her skin here, on her face. I'll use a combination of lasso and wand. This is the cloak. I'm going to remove that there. Make sure I catch that ear. That should be good. I lost a little bit in there. I'm just going to go through here and select all this, make sure it's the same color. I am going to go through and manually clean up some of this stuff. See what we're dealing with. And one thing I'm trying to do is I'm creating separation just to make it easier. That's why I did this section of pants here. It's a wide, kind of fairly wide open area, and it's going to separate the boots from the the rest of the body up here. So now this is an easily selected separate area. I can just cut that off, make some changes. All right. Okay, let's see. Tolerance. I have a little bit of a color tolerance, which is why the face is showing up as separate. All right. I think at this point, I'm going to go in and start, well, this little crow brooch is pretty detailed. It's going to be hard to select manually, so I'm just going to do it. Not manually, it's going to be hard to select automatically, so I'm just going to do it manually. And I've got my original drawing here. I'm going to isolate the flat color layer so that I can just select some colors here, start filling. Okay. So that's about that for that part of the cloak. Now I can select this part and add it, that part and add it, this part, let's see. Looks like before I gave her, she didn't have like sleeves, she had armor on her arms, but I did a sleeve here, so I'm going to make that a different color from the armor. I'll select the armor color. I'll go ahead and make all of that color. The boots. Let's see. Again, I'm just using a combination of techniques, whatever seems to be appropriate at the moment. Here's the color I used for these metal bits. I actually feel like this is far too saturated. It doesn't really come out looking metal, so I'm gonna change that, make it a little brighter, a little less blue. Separate the soles of these boots here. Alright, we're coming along. Let's get her skin tone. You know, right here I'm just gonna copy this whole area and paste it in, and I'll make sure my eyedropper is set to select from all layers rather than just the layer that I'm on. Lips. This overflowed a little. Alright, let's see. You know, I should have done the whole figure. What am I thinking? Here we go. Oops. Okay, we got that belt. Alright, and now the armor color, which, yeah, it's all the same color already. Deal with this sleeve here. Let's see, I'll probably use the same leather color for these straps. A little bit of... I have a nice little tool here. There's the remove dust tool that you can have. You can set it different ways to remove little bits of detritus or little gaps in the line work. I don't always bother with that. Excuse me. I don't always bother with that, but sometimes. Okay, where are we at now? Okay, let me get those pants. Okay, she's coming along. Let's go ahead and use the same belt colors for the belt on this hat. I'm gonna do that with the lasso. All right. Let's see what's left. Really, that looks like about it. Oh yeah, let's do this. Well, yeah, let's do this wine bottle. I'll give it a color for the label here. Make the bottle itself like a nice wine color. And at this point, we should be about ready to start coloring for real. few other things I want to deal with in this window here. There's a table leg back there that we can see. Let's get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. And I think I'm probably going to use blue for the little name badge here, just so that it kind of pops along with that cloak there. Let's see how I feel about some of these colors. I feel like I want a little more blue on this armor. Oh, that's right, we got the sword here. Let's bring this back. What colors do we have here? Okay, I lost part of that, but that's fine. We'll bring that back. All right, that looks about right. Now these are not final colors. These are just kind of quick and dirty. And I'll be adjusting some of it as I go. I already don't really like this hat being a little too yellow. So let's see, I'm going to bring some of that color from the boots in there. But, let's see. And then this, maybe we don't want it too brown. Maybe a little more toward gray so that it kind of recedes into the background a little bit. And this, what I'm going to do is make that the same color, but then I'm going to darken it. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, so we'll have these little, this kind of like darker accent color on some of these areas. Should that go down there as well? Yeah, why not? And we missed some spots over here. All right. Yeah, it looks like that'll about do it for the initial flattening pass. It's time to get into the fun part, where we do our shadows and our highlights and really nail down our colors and all of that stuff. So I have a little macro here that creates shadow and highlight layers, and what those are shadow is just a layer that is just paint with black on there. It's at 40%. Whoops. And it just kind of, it just creates a shadow. Highlight is pure white, but that's not going to stay that way. I just use this during the initial process of laying in the highlights, and then I'll have a trick to tone it down later. So I'm going to go ahead and, one more cool thing is if you look right over here, you can see, you can't see it so much when I'm on the layer because the little pencil appears there, but this is the reference layer symbol. If you click this up here, you can see set as reference layer. And what that does is I have a selection tool, selection for referred layers. And what it does is I can be on any layer, and when I make a selection, it's going to select as if I were selecting from that reference layer. So I'm going to keep my shadow layer active, but I'm going to be making selections from the reference layer. So let's start with these, with this armor here, and I'm just going to start painting in some shadows. Try not to get too detailed with the shadows because it's easy to kind of get carried away and overdo it, and then like you spend a lot of time and it doesn't even necessarily look as good as if you had kept it a little more chunky maybe. So I'm going to try to do this quick. Drop some shadows from the arms there. Alright. Get this whole underside in shadow, and then this bit. Drop a little shadow from the cloak. Let's see. Leave a little pop of light there. Let's see her face. Let's have kind of a shadow dropped from the hat, and I was still on my inking brush. I have a different brush that I like to use for doing this stuff, where I can like adjust the size more. Let's see. A little too much there. Keep that a little more subtle. You see me switching, rotating the canvas a lot. That's mostly just to keep it at a comfortable angle for drawing. Some things, you need to draw a line that goes a certain way. It's easier to rotate it so that it's at a kind of a more favorable angle for your hand. That's going to be different for everybody. Shadow over this bit of cloak here. It's all in shadow. Let's see, her hair. All of this just big fat drop shadow from the hat, and then down here we'll start kind of defining separate strands. Looks like here I overdrew or missed the background here. That's fine. I'll keep that dark. Okay, let's do the hat. Sometimes I make sound effects when I draw. I've been doing that since I was a little kid. Too late to stop now. Alrighty. The underside here. A little bit there. That's pretty good. Get this belt on the hat. And I kind of forgot about this. There's a little bit missing here. I'll draw that in, or color that in. Okay, down to the pants. This whole crotch area is going to be mostly in shadow. Going to have some radiating bits out there. Onto the boots. This is going pretty quickly. There's a lot of different ways to handle doing your shadows in a piece like this. So earlier I switched it to obtain display color instead of pick up color from layer. What that does is it picks up whatever color you're actually looking at rather than the color that's on the layer, whichever layer you have selected. And that's good for some things, but it's bad for other things. And here it was bad because what I did was I selected from the shadow area, and what it did was it picked up the base color plus the shadow, where I really just wanted the base color. So now I'm going to paint that back in. Okay. So yeah, I like to try to be efficient in my drawing, and you know, rather than come up with some whole new way of doing the shadows, I kind of just draw them in the same way I ink. You know, the same way I would draw these ink shadows. I'm just, you know, I'm using almost the same tool. This is a fatter tool, so I can cover more area quickly, but I'm using the same kind of lines and the same kind of strategies as I do when I'm inking, because that's what I'm comfortable with, and I also think it leads to a cohesive look for the piece. When you can see that same kind of hand coming through, you know. So, okay, here's another area where I overstepped the grass a little bit. That's not always a big problem, you know. Depending on what your style is, you may want to, or you may, you know, be able to get away with leaving things a little sloppy. I try not to make my style too tight and fastidious because I want to build in the ability to leave it a little sloppy sometimes. And I feel like that, you know, that can give it more of a feeling of like life and like vibrance when it doesn't look really overworked. But on the other hand, you don't want to be lazy. You want to make sure, you know, you want to make sure you're doing the work right. Okay, now is that hair the same color as the armor? It looks like it. I think I'm going to change that. Fortunately, the hair doesn't overlap the armor at all, so it's easy. And I'm just going to give it a little more of a blue-purple kind of color. All right. I feel like I went a little too heavy on the shadow on the edge here. You wouldn't actually be seeing that much of the shadow. Let's see. Okay. Now on to this cloak here. This should be fun. I'm going to drop a lot of shadow from the body over here. This is all just going to be like the body casting the shadow down onto here. And then when we get over here, we'll work more of like a structure. And I'm going to hit some shadows on this little birdie brooch. And this is going to be defined a lot by the highlights as well when I get to that stage. Let's see. Now that is looking too bright, too much. I'm going to knock the saturation down. Yeah, that'll work. Sometimes I'll pick a color and fill it. Sometimes I'll just use the hue, saturation, luminosity sliders, whatever. You know, there's a lot of ways to skin this cat. Okay, shadows, shadows, shadows. Get some shadows on this belt here. Shadows on these straps on her bracers there. The wine bottle. Okay, looks like I'm overflowing with my color a little bit right there. So then I gotta go in and fix my shadows. Let's see. I think I want this bottle a little bit brighter. I'm gonna give it a little bit more of a purple. Okay. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer. Okay. Shadows. Yeah, the more I look at it, the more I don't like the shadow on the side of this leg here. This is our shadow side, but I feel like the leg is not kind of turning enough, the form here, that we would see much of a shadow there. Okay, get some shadows on this wine. We'll also come back and put some highlights there later. Put some shadow in these cracks here. Make sure I got that selected. Okay, this is one of the areas that I tidied up earlier, and it looks like I left some cracks. All right. I'm going to leave put some shadows here, on the front here, put some shadows there. Okay. Now, when I did this grass, I tried to put, her legs are right above the grass. I'm going to be casting a shadow, and I tried to do some hatching like I did there, but it didn't work out. So I decided I would just handle it in the coloring. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm kind of creating a border so that I can fill, because there's so much empty space here. Empty space, so many gaps with this grass, so I gotta create a border so that the paint bucket tool can remain constrained. So that looks pretty good. We're gonna do the same thing for this sword here. It's not going to be as much because the sword is much skinnier. Alright, and then I'm going to go around and just pop in a little bit of shadows on these areas where I've got the detail of the grass. Here I'll select the grass. There I just hid the selection. I like to do that a lot of the time just to make it easier for me to see. When you got these marching ants everywhere, it makes it kind of hard to see what you're doing in small spaces. And then I'm going to go back onto this this foundation area and let the grass cast some little shadows there. We don't need to be too specific here. Just let it just slop some stuff down there. A little bit of shadows on these cracks. Okay, how about these nails? I'm finding those are a lot brighter than I want them, so I'll knock them down a little bit. Alright, and then I suppose if we want to be consistent, we should cast shadows on this whole area here. So I'm going to do that too. Let's see. Make a border here because there's a lot of gaps. Even on the front of these little window crossbars. Yeah, that's pretty good. Do I want to? Yeah, I am. So I'm going to obliterate these shadows that I put in on these like pock marks and cracks and stuff. But when I do the highlights, I'll come back in and pop those out a little bit. And I'll cast a bit of shadow here. And I suppose I should actually... I suppose I should cast some shadow along the whole... grass here from where this... from this building, you know? As long as we're... Maybe I'm overdoing it. You can overdo it with shadows. You can get too literal. And you can kind of get yourself in trouble, or find yourself cluttering up the composition, or just doing a bunch of work that nobody's going to care about. But that's one of the cool things about art, about cartooning, is that cartooning, especially like this, it's not realistic really. It's very stylized, and you kind of get to choose how you want to handle things, depending on the effect you're going for, or whatever. Sometimes you're going to take some liberties. Maybe it wouldn't really work that way in real life, but you think it'll look better for the image, or it'll be it'll help tell the story better, or you just don't want to clutter it up or something. But I'm going to go ahead and fill all this stuff in. Okay, so I got some gaps that are too wide and it's overflowing. I think I'm gonna extend this bit out because I don't like that little tiny pop of light over there. It's too small, so it makes it look out of place. You kind of either gotta have a lot or just don't do it. Alright, so, and this hedge over here is going to have some, I'll just leave some little pops of light on the top there. It's mostly going to be shadowed out. We'll even drop a lot of shadow from the building. And in here, this got a little too dim. I'm going to brighten that up a bit. I'll even put some shadow in there, although I might knock that back a little bit when we, as we continue. I don't want it to be super strong. Everything in that, behind that window is going to want to be, you're going to need it to be a little bit knocked back by the opacity of the window. Obviously windows are transparent, but we want it to look like there's something there. So In fact, I'm going to select all this stuff back there and just give it a little bit of, well, no, you know what? We'll deal with that later, maybe with another layer. I want it to look warm inside, like it's a warm, like there's like candlelight and stuff. Now this is actually looking like a very bright daytime scene, whereas I kind of been thinking of it as like a night scene, but I think these shadows that I put here have really contributed to it looking like a daytime scene. So, forgot to do these. So I don't know, I think maybe I'll lean into that. We'll just let it be like a daytime scene. Okay. So looking at all of this, it looks like the basic colors are pretty well established. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a quick duplicate of this layer for safety's sake. I feel like this needs a little something different. Alright, and then I'm going to, where's my, oh yeah, okay, so I'm going to go into my tone curve. And people usually use this to adjust brightness and darkness in kind of finer detail. A lot of times, just a very basic thing to do is like take the, so here's how this works. It's a, I'm going to cancel out and start fresh. So this is a, this line goes from dark on this side to light on this side. And when I move it up and down, when I create these points here, it takes like whatever's at that brightness level in the image, and it moves it either darker or lighter. So the kind of most standard thing to do is, at least for me, is to like make the darks a little darker and the lights a little bit lighter, and that kind of tends to perk the image up a little bit. But what I'm actually going to do right now is go into the different color channels and adjust each color individually. So you can see right here we got a lot of red right there and right there. I'm going to bring that red up, maybe like where there's less down here, I'm going to bring it down, take it out, go into the blue. Here's a lot of blue, that's probably the cloak right there. Let's see, bring that down. And kind of what I'm going to do is just fiddle with these a little bit, with these different layers. See, now we're kind of getting too blue, getting like a blue cast overall to the image. But, okay, now we're taking a lot of the blue out of it, and the whole thing's getting a little bit of a yellow cast. But it looks kind of nice. The point here is this kind of harmonizes the colors. You're going to give a little bit of a nudge to all of the constituent colors, the red, the blue, and the green that make up, that all the colors are made from, at least when you're dealing with digital art. And it kind of injects a little bit of the same sort of quality into all of the different colors. Let me take this away and we can look at the original layer. Okay, so we really warmed it up there, which looks nice. And I also feel that it just looks like more cohesive. It all kind of looks like part of the same scene a little more. So that's cool. I'm going to go ahead and merge that down because we don't need to go back to that other layer. So now let's start on highlights. Now highlights, I'm doing straight up white, like I'm using whiteout or something here. And this is just to make it simple during the application process. I'm just going to go around kind of chipping in these highlights wherever they seem like they would belong. Get a little bit on the eye there. And then what I'm going to do later on is I'm going to duplicate this, duplicate the color layer and set it to screen blend mode, which will lighten. And then I'm going to use this highlight layer as a selection to carve out, like, so just the areas that that are in the highlight layer here will show. So essentially, I'm going to just, right now, I don't have to deal with a bunch of different, changing colors all the time. I just use this white, and then kind of in one fell swoop, I'm just going to switch it so that, oh, I forgot that hand. Let me go back to the shadow layer. Let's drop a little shadow from her fingers onto the boards there. And I missed making any like shadow areas over here too. You don't want to overdo this. A little goes a long way. Drop a few bits of shadow over here as well. The way I handle these, a lot of them I don't actually like. It has kind of more of a drop shadow layer look than a reinforcing shadow. I don't know what you'd call it. Okay, so let's get back to this highlighting. I kind of do like the look of this like harsh white highlight. I obviously I wouldn't use it as like all over the place as I am now if I were to use it for real, but it's kind of cool. Like I certainly wouldn't be highlighting this cloak like this. But that look kind of reminds me of when I was a kid. I got these Ninja Turtle comics that were these collected editions of the original black and white comics, but they were colored, and they were colored with like what looked to me like a watercolor style kind of, but with these opaque white highlights. And the Ninja Turtles were like my favorite thing in the world when I was a kid, and it's the stuff that I first like really learned how to draw. Like when as a kid, I first started taking drawing seriously. It was like drawing Ninja Turtles. So I have a emotional reaction to that kind of look. So I kind of like it, but I haven't really found a way to incorporate those like strong white highlights just yet. Now I'm going to go ahead and here I got some these kind of reflections or highlights on the glass. I'll go ahead and fill those in. Okay, let's see, on the boots. bit on the sword here, or on the sheath, I guess. I did say I was going to pick out some little highlights here. So okay. That's looking pretty close to where I'm going to want to move to the next step. And just give it a little bit of something here. Yeah, I don't know. Missed some shadow here. All right. Also, not really fond of this. I'm gonna desaturate that a bit. Yeah, I think I might actually make that closer to the color of her boots. Yeah. Okay. So then I'll just drop some shadow in there. A little bit of highlight. And I don't know if we're going to want all this. Maybe a little touch. On the other hand, it does tend to look more stark when it's all in white like this. I'm about to show you what I mean about this this highlight layer stuff. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the highlight layer. Everything that's in the highlight is now selected. I'm going to go down to the shadow layer, invert, and create a mask. What that's going to do is it's going to take out the shadow layer everywhere where that highlight layer exists so that they don't overlap at all. Now I'm going to duplicate that layer, set it to screen. You see how it brightens up, right? Put that above the shadow layer. Select again that highlight layer. Get rid of the highlight layer. And now I'm going to create a layer mask which will, boom, remove everything that is not part of that highlight layer, or not part of that highlight selection. And now I can play around with that. Turns out I don't like these highlights there on the pants after all. But if I want to continue painting on the highlight layer, I can do it in this layer mask here. If I disable the mask, it just, the whole thing is brightened up. Enable it again. So now that that's on, I can see it doesn't have that extreme brightness of that white layer. So now I'm seeing like, okay, this can stand a little bit more highlight. But like it messes with your eyes, you don't, let's see, maybe like this. That works. And then what I'll do is I'll take the stuff that's supposed to be nice and shiny. Like anything metal, anything like a shiny leather. First I'll pick all the metal. I'll pick this glass here, that bottle, that the wine there, all of these metal or like shiny leather bits. And I come over, so I'm not on the layer mask anymore. I'm now on the, in fact, let me disable the mask so you can see it. And I'm just going to crank this brightness up on these areas. You can see the difference there. So when I bring the mask back, now you can see anything where we want it like good and shiny is good and shiny. Let's see. And then everywhere else, like on the cloak and stuff, we have some highlights, but they don't look like a shine on a like metallic surface or something. I kind of missed. I didn't go in and do all of this. I'm going to pick out the. Then again, I'm going to. Whoops. Make sure I'm keeping up with my shadow layer, so I'm not letting my shadow layer overlap my my highlight layer too much. Drop some shadow in here, clean that up a bit. And let's see. I think we do need to kind of get a little bit more of this grass shadow. It's a little stark. So that's 90% of it. The last thing I like to do, and this is something I learned recently from, I worked on a project called The Tome of Summoning. It was a Kickstarter project for Dungeons and Dragons. It was monster cards with like art from the monsters on one side and like the stats and everything on the other side, and like a binder that looks like a cool wizard spell book that you can just like pull the monster cards out and have them handy, show them to your players, put them on your DM screen, whatever. And I drew like 200 monsters for that. And I was working, when I say drew, I didn't actually draw them from scratch. I was working from the sketches of the creator of the project. And I was working kind of in his style as well, and I learned some new stuff. And one thing I learned, let me, okay, there we go. Now what I'm going to do, I cut myself off, I distracted myself. I was talking about the next step, but real quick, I'm going to knock back some of this highlight here a little bit, and then give the whole thing a bit of a sheen right there. Okay, so what I was about to say before I distracted myself is that I'm going to create an overlay layer. And what that lets me do is I can paint with just black and white and get a little darker or a little lighter. And I'm just going to use that to kind of give a little bit more depth to these, to everything here. You know, just give it a little, a little bit more, you know, like let it get a little darker over here. And I'm just like feathering this in. I don't want it to be too extreme, because you can get real extreme with that. But if I just give it a little bit where the, you know, kind of in the corners and stuff, it adds a lot of depth to the image, a lot of interest. Underneath this windowsill here, in here, this duplicated layer maintained that reference layer. So it's messing up my selections. Let me get rid of that. There we go. Now we got the full thing. Brighten that up. And I'm going to go into the figure here, and usually want to brighten the face up a little bit. Oh, I didn't do any highlights on her hair. That's going to be important. So let me just snipe some little highlights in there. And again, I'm going to select that area and like brighten it up a little bit. Yeah, that was actually too much. Yeah, that's better how it is. Alright, let's see. So yeah, we're going to bring in some darkness around the edges of this armor here. A little brightness. A little darkness on this cloak here around the shadowy parts and the edges. And then a little brightness on the peaks. Certainly this bottle, a little darkness there, a little brightness here. And you can use this real subtly to just kind of make stuff pop a little bit. Real subtle bit here, the grass. It got a little too dark over here. And one thing I have decided at this point is that this hat is a little too warm, like everything else around here. So I'm going to, let's see, what if I just do it like that? How about like a kind of a purple hat? Does that work? That's kind of cool. And now I gotta go make sure I change the corresponding color on the screen layer. Yeah, actually I like that. Okay, let's see. So yeah, that's most of the way there. Did I put shadows here? I didn't. I should have. Definitely brighten the eye a little bit, make that pop. And, you know, I think I want to make these soles of these boots a little more separate. Oh yeah, and then this, my little nameplate here definitely needs something. Let that pop a little bit. Maybe maybe a little bit of a drop shadow. I don't know. But yeah, that's about gonna do it. I could probably stick around and polish this up for a while, and find various bits that I'm not happy with, but I don't want this video to take all day, so let's see, let's just brighten this up a little bit around here. It did get a little dark. Alright, and you know, for now I'm going to go ahead and call that done. I might come back and polish it up a little before I post it around, but cannot leave well enough alone. That armor got too flat gray. I do want it to stay a bit blue. A little bit. Oops. Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it helped you in some way. If you like what you're seeing here, please like and subscribe. I think for my next video, I'll do some actual tutorial content. If you have any thoughts about what you'd like to see, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just pick something, you know, how to draw this, how to draw that, instead of just these kind of general demonstrations. But yeah, like and subscribe. If you have any comments, please comment down below. And thanks for watching. See you next time.